Learn English through stories. Chapter 1. The People's Princess. Diana, Princess of Wales, died in a car accident in Paris on August 31, 1997. 6 days later, more than 1 million people went to London to remember her. They came to London from England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, France, Spain, Germany, America, Australia, and many, many more countries. Most of them carried flowers. There were hundreds and hundreds of flowers. They waited in the streets all night. They talked about Diana and remembered her. And in the morning they watched Diana's body go along the quiet streets, and they said goodbye to her. People from all over the world, perhaps 1,000 million people, watched on TV. Everybody was very quiet. Diana, the people's princess, was dead. But who was Diana, and why did so many people watch and remember her? What did she do when she was alive? Why did people love her so much? Chapter 2. Young Diana. Diana Spencer was born on July 1, 1961 at Sandringham in England. The Queen of England has a big house in Sandringham, near Diana's first home. Diana's mother and father were friends of the Queen. Diana had 2 older sisters, so she was the 3rd girl in the Spencer family. But her father wanted a son, and 2 years later Diana's brother was born. Diana loved her young brother. She played with him all the time. He was always a good friend to her. But Diana's mother and father were not happy. When Diana was 8 years old, her mother divorced her father and went to live with a man in Scotland. The 4 children stayed with their father, but they often visited their mother. It was hundreds of kilometers from Sandringham to Scotland. Their father put them on the train in the morning, and in the evening they were with their mother in Scotland. On the train, Diana and her brother talked and laughed a lot. But they were not happy about their mother and father. In 1975, Diana's father and his children moved to a big house called Althorpe. Diana's father was very rich, and when Diana was 16 he married a new wife, Rain. But Diana didn't want a new mother. She didn't like Rain, and at first she didn't talk to her. Diana was not good at school work. But she always liked young children, and she tried to help them. She liked games, and swimming and running and dancing. She was very tall, but she wanted to be a dancer. Chapter 3. Diana meets Prince Charles. When she was 16, Diana went to London and worked in schools for very young children. She loved children, and they liked her too. And she always tried to help them when they were unhappy. Diana's sister Sarah was a friend of the Queen's son, Prince Charles, and Charles sometimes visited her at Althorpe. One day Diana talked to him. "Hello," she said. "You were on TV when your great-uncle, Lord Louis Mountbatten, died. You were very unhappy." "Yes, I was," Charles said. "He was a good man. I liked him very much." Diana always tried to help unhappy people. She and Charles talked for a long time. She liked Charles, and he liked her. They laughed a lot, and soon they were good friends. Everybody wanted to read about Prince Charles's girlfriends and see pictures of them. In London, newspaper men and photographers came to Diana's house. They took photographs of her in the street and asked her questions. "Do you love Prince Charles?" they asked. "Are you going to marry him?" Diana didn't answer and walked away from them. When he was younger, Charles loved a girl called Camilla. He wanted to marry her, but she married a man called Andrew Parker Bowles. Charles was not happy about this. Camilla Parker Bowles did not stop being his friend, but he wanted a wife. And Diana was a very nice girl. On February 6, 1981, at Windsor Castle, Charles asked Diana to be his wife. At first Diana laughed, but then she said a yes. She was 19 years old, and he was her first boyfriend. Diana married Charles in London on July 29, 1981. The streets of London were full of people. Millions of people watched on TV all over the world. There were pictures and stories about Diana and Charles in newspapers and magazines. In the magazine pictures, Diana was young and beautiful. But was she happy? Chapter 4. Children and Illness. At first, Diana was happy with Charles. On June 21, 1982, their first son, Prince William, was born. Diana was a good mother and loved him very much. But Diana and her son did not always stay at home. Because she was a princess, she visited many countries with her husband. In spring 1983, Diana and Charles visited Australia and New Zealand. They took Prince William with them. Everybody in Australia wanted to see Diana. She was on TV and in the newspapers, and the streets were always full of people. But sometimes this was difficult for Prince Charles. Everyone wanted to see Diana and give her flowers, but no one wanted to see him. "It doesn't matter," he laughed. "I'm a man, I'm not very important. I'm here to carry the flowers for my wife." But he wasn't very happy about this. It was difficult for Diana, too. Photographers always followed her, and her photograph was in every magazine. The photographers wanted new photographs every day. "Why don't they stop?" she asked. "I need to be alone sometimes." But the photographers never stopped. They followed her all the time, day and night. In the photographs she was always a beautiful, happy, young mother. But that wasn't always true. Diana was often unhappy and ill. She was unhappy about her husband, Charles, and his old girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Charles often talked to Camilla on the telephone, and sometimes he visited her. Diana was angry about this, and she was unhappy, too. She didn't have many friends in Buckingham Palace. And because she was unhappy, she began to be ill. Diana's illness was called bulimia. She liked to eat a lot. But after eating, she was usually ill. She was often hungry, and she wanted to eat. But then she was nearly always ill, so she didn't get fat. She was unhappy and afraid, too. Sometimes she wanted to die. She needed love and help. But Charles didn't understand her. He was angry and unhappy about her bulimia, and he didn't know how to help. But, very often, he went to see Camilla.